Welcome everybody. Thank you very much. Really good. And what Vince is doing is just showing you our website for those that don't know where it is and what it does. In actual fact, if Vincent goes down and you click on any of those properties, you can actually open up and get all the facts information and webinars as well. So thanks for doing that, Vincent. Hi, Udell from Prosperity. How are you today?
Morning, Chris. Not too bad, thank you. I'm
Good
here
to
from
see you.
sunny, cloudy Birmingham.
I love working with you, Del, and we've been working together now for over 3 years. And I've got to say, your admin and it's top class. I've got top class. Pete, you've been traveling around the UK, no doubt, having a look at properties and also studying Nimbus. What can you tell us about the market?
Okay, it's really interesting. Over the last few weeks, and it is only the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been speaking to a lot of my contacts in the volume builders, which are the likes of Carla Holmes, Persimmon, Taylor Wimpey. And there's no two ways about it. Before Christmas was extremely slow. Reservations were down around about 40%, and viewings were also down substantially. Over the last 3 weeks, they've all seen a big uptick. And what's happened is that quite a few of the sites that were not mothballed but slowed down have now restarted again. We're seeing some really good activity from the likes of Persimmon, and Persimmon are one of the largest volume builders, and also Carla. So this is good news. So what's driving that? Why have things picked up? Firstly, we go back to the same old thing that I mention every time we have a webinar, which is there is pent-up demand. Fact is that there's a shortage of property stock, both in terms of single-family homes and also rental stock, which is the market that we sort of predominate in. So that's been supported by the fact that now mortgage rates have dropped back. Mortgage rates had spiked up once Quasimodo, as I called him, threw his hand grenade in the pond in November with Liz Truss. And we're now seeing the rates fall back to a much more manageable level. My daughter went and made a reservation for a property for herself. It's her very first property on Saturday. And she managed to get a 4.13% mortgage with Halifax. Well, and that's fixed 5 years. The activity levels were high. She went to the Carla Holmes have built the property. She went there to do a reservation. That they were really busy. It's good news. We aren't suddenly going to overcome the property shortages we've got in this country. And certainly if you look at Birmingham and some of the outlying areas, such as Nottingham, in my opinion, they're going to see a better uptick than some of the other large cities. I won't be specific about them because I'm sure some of you love those other cities. But we've already seen that Nottingham has produced great increases in value over the last 12 years because they were coming back from a lower position. And that's the reason that there's been a really good uptick. And my view is that we're going to see that carry on, not just in Nottingham, but in Birmingham. We're going to see it in some of the other peripheral towns that are commutable to Birmingham. That's the big key. If it's commutable to some of these more thriving cities, and when you look at the employment that's coming into Birmingham with some of the really large companies, it's solid. We also have obviously the fact that Nottingham has got such a good university structure, and the numbers are still growing within Nottingham University. So that supports what we're doing. So can I just say as well, I'm going to take this opportunity to thank you, Del, for all of the amazing support he gives our Holbornites.
Oh, thank you.
Please know that Udell makes himself available. He goes that extra mile, and his knowledge on his products is superb, but his attitude is absolutely second to none. He will always get back to you as soon as he can. And so please use that alongside Chris, which, I was talking with Chris yesterday in a meeting. Chris effectively has no life. And he gives 100% all the time to what we do. And there's no bigger font of knowledge within Holborn than Chris, and there's no bigger knowledge bank on everything that Prosperity have got than you, Dal. So we are very, very lucky to have these two guys working alongside us. That's all I'm going to say.
Pete, that's very, very kind. Embarrassing, but kind, but we can always edit that bit out. But thank you anyway. You, Del, as I said earlier on, we worked together now for over 3 years. Great service, your company. And what is different about Prosperity, and there's nothing against our other property partners, is you're it, aren't you, Udell? You are buying the land, you're doing the building, you're going to do the letting and the management, you do the everything. And that is what people, I think, like. It's you call it an armchair experience. But, you know, as I say, 3 years and it's all gone swimmingly. The other thing that's unique about you, and that's why we've got so many viewers today, and welcome everybody, welcome to the show, Ben will love that, is obviously the regular savings plan. We don't know a better name for it, but the way of building up the deposit for people that haven't got the 30% or whatever it may be they need. So I think I've probably actually killed half your presentation, Udell, but that was that was my intention. So Udell, can you share your screen?
Of course. Thank you very much, Chris. Much appreciated. And thanks for that amazing introduction, Pete. Really appreciated. So thank you very much for giving me your time, guys, today. This is my new 2023 and beyond presentation. I'm just going to take you through the Prosperity Group of companies, how we work, what we do, and then we'll go into the Nottingham site today to give you a good overview. So introduction, we've already seen that. Small agenda today. So Prosperity, who we are, our developments, USPs. We're going to go into the projects. We'll talk about a little bit about the key drivers for Nottingham and Beeston. And then at the end, we're going to give you a bit of opportunity to ask some questions. We want questions. So come with us with questions so we can answer. So you've got the knowledge to move away and move forward. So this is the Prosperity Group of companies. So I've now been with Prosperity just over 6 years. The company's been going since 2007. And I feel that this is quite important to show everybody. We have 4 different brands on the right-hand side here, which are all in-house Prosperity branded limited companies that look after the clients throughout their investment journey. So from financing to legal exchanges, Prosperity developers are the developers that are on the contracts when you do your legal exchange, through to the financing. So we look after expats, foreign nationals and residential buyers that buy into UK property. And then last but least is Lamont & Co, which is the rental management business. So when we've got these shiny products now that's been delivered on the ground, we need to find that perfectly profiled working professional tenant to move in that's going to look after the property and pay us our 12 monthly rents and produce the figures that we've always kind of forecasted for the clients. So that's kind of our one-stop shop solution. So no matter how experienced you are or how little knowledge you have, we make sure that we hold your hand throughout the process, all in-house. And that's the difference because we are the people that are building it and we take you through the journey. So that's a bit of a snapshot on the Prosperity Group of companies. To give you an overview, if you've not seen that before, and many of you have already seen that and know that. This is a very powerful slide for me, and I think this is very important when anybody goes off to get themselves involved with off-plan. Credibility, track record, this is so important. And where we stand as a residential developer in the UK, we've done 43 developments now since we've been going, and we're growing, and our figures and numbers are going up and up and up. We've produced over 4,300 total homes since we've been going, and being a Birmingham-based developer based in the Jewellery Quarter, the B3 postcode, we have produced over 2,500 homes in Birmingham city centre alone. So that makes Prosperity the largest homegrown residential developer in the second city of the UK. So I like to get that in there so people understand the size of company and credibility that they're dealing with. Being a Birmingham-based developer doesn't mean that we sat on our doorstep and we're looking over the road to see what land we can develop. We have a national approach, guys. Yeah, we've gone as far as West Yorkshire, as you can see on the map, and as southern as Southend-on-Sea. Often enough, we're in the big cities like Birmingham, you know, looking at the regenerations, etc. You can see we're very much clustered around the Midlands and the East Midlands. We've probably done around about 10 to 12 different developments in and around the East Midlands, around the Nottingham and Derby corridors, because we know that it's great commuter belts. So we always go back there because, again, it's always produced very well for us in regards to performances of capital appreciation and rental growth. So I'm going to get more into that in a short while, but just to kind of give you an understanding of where we are, how we sit. If you want more information on this, you're more than welcome to go back to your advisor, and we'll provide you with an introduction brochure on Prosperity to give you a good overview of our track record. So that's our credibility, track record, and history to date. We always have a lot of aspirations for new sites, new research, new regeneration stories in different areas. This is our current construction pipeline. So we're very heavily involved with Birmingham. These two developments down here, as I said, Nottingham has always been on the agenda. These are two developments that we're doing in Nottingham. We've also recently gone into the house building sector. So we offer the same USPs with freehold housing. We're doing this over in Downham Market in Norfolk.
And Udell, they've been very successful, Broad Oaks, haven't they? With Holborn, very successful. Because in fact, you know, we're mostly apartments, we're mostly flats. Off plan or completely built, but yeah, it was an eye opener to see how much interest there was in that Broad Oaks.
Yeah, and to be fair, Chris, it's all about just giving our audience the right choices and the right opportunities to diverse, because you know we know we're always going to have the new build first tier cities, big cities like Birmingham. Then we've gone into the housing sector, which is a little bit further out from the city centres, but it's freehold properties. We are the only developer on the ground that offers freehold property which you can pay and buy with a payment plan. So that becomes you know, a very strong incentive. And then often enough we do some of the suburban towns where we do PDR conversion builds. So it's becoming a little bit more challenging these days to find good buildings that we can convert in the right location.
Just for those that have not met you, PDR, can you, we hate acronyms.
Yes, of course. So it's when the developer actually finds an existing commercial or retail building. We often look at sort of town centre, city centre locations. We get planning to convert that into a residential apartment block to obviously supply the demand. But to find these buildings nowadays that's close to a train station, close to all the kind of amenities that you want, is becoming very challenging, especially with the pricing of materials and so on these days. So, but we do carry on, and we've done very well from it. So, you know, we continue to search.
Thank you.
No problem at all. Okay, so this is the golden slide of Prosperity. Is we facilitate, we enable, we add value. So what we do as a company with our USPs, the USPs are standout. So you'll find that the knowledge and the kind of the thinking behind property investment, especially buy-to-let out there in the world, is, oh, I need a deposit, I need a big lump sum to kind of get into it, I need When we sometimes talking about 250 grand and a buy-to-let mortgage deposit of that amount, it sometimes can be a bit daunting. That's some people's life savings to just give away to a developer all at once before they've seen anything happen. So we've put these USPs in place to make it a very more transparent experience and straightforward for the clients to invest with minimal exposure and very low commitment. So we have something called a no lump sum deposit. I'm going to show you a bit of a structure in a short while just to show you how it stacks up and how that works. But tailoring onto the no lump sum deposit, we have something that we do. We help the clients build their buy-to-let investment deposit. So typically we know in the UK, your buy-to-let mortgages require a 25 to 30% deposit. How do we arrive at that amount? Prosperity provides a payment plan structured in a way where it's 0% interest to get you where you need to be if you haven't got a lump sum. How we do this is a bit of a structure that we follow. So my investors, a typical example of somebody that's out there in Thailand, they're a teacher, they've always had aspiration for developing in the UK, never had a lump sum, is great for the cash, doesn't know how to go about it. Here comes Prosperity. Our vision and our view of the audience is much wider because you don't need lump sum deposit anymore. They can follow this structure, which is very simple, very easy. And we treat it a bit like a regular savings plan, but ultimately you're gaining a property at the end of the 2 years, which is amazing. So, so how this works is investor will come in and they'll see a £219,000 9995 property. To reserve this property today, it will only cost the investor a 5% reservation deposit. So this is this grey area down here. So that's to reserve the property. We lock in the pounds per square foot values today, locked in until we complete. There's also a 995 legal fee because we instruct the legal conveyancers, and you'll be doing an exchange of contracts, usually around about 4 to 6 weeks after the reservation deposit has been taken. Now, going back to the 30% deposit that I mentioned before about the buy-to-let lenders at the end, we will help our clients build the remaining deposit towards their purchase, which mirrors the build cycle of the project. So you can see this orange area here is a typical example. Our sites usually start from around about 18 months to 30 months, depending on the development schedule. And we can provide that as a payment plan to the client. So in essentially what you're doing is you're paying the minimal amounts to fund your own and save your own buy-to-let mortgage deposit. So when we come and arrive at completion, you've got this deposit that's banked up. You've not serviced any debt. It's not cost you anything, which is, again, another amazing opportunity. Lenders look at the property. They do all their run-ins with their rental incomes and all the bits and pieces in the background to make sure that it's viable and it stacks up as an investment property. You secure the lending. We borrow the bank's money to complete on our assets. And then the rental income takes over and pays down the mortgage. That's
Udell, one question that always comes up to me. So, okay,
yeah.
What else if I want to pay a little bit extra? So instead of 5%, they've actually got some cash built up and they want to put some down. And
Yeah.
the reason I ask that is that would then reduce proportionately the 1,833.
Yeah.
So you can tailor make it. A client can tailor make it as to suit his own circumstances.
Correct. So we are only trying to achieve to get to that buy-to-let mortgage deposit amount. So it's 30%. So no matter how you pay for it, if you want to pay 10% up front, you can. All it will do is reduce the remaining balance over that remaining term. If you want to pay the minimal amount, that's perfectly fine. The beauty of how Prosperity structured this is we also provide quarterly updates every 3 months of the development cycle. So as I'm an investor and I'm paying my monthly installments every month, I'm treating it as a regular savings plan, pay my £1,800 per month. Prosperity then invite me to a webinar. They tell me about the construction updates, how things are progressing, what's happening next, etc., etc. It's transparent to me. I can see that activities on site. I can see that things are progressing really well. I feel happy. I haven't given them my whole of my life savings up front, and I'm sat here not knowing what's going on. So we keep it low exposure and low commitment for the clients, just to make sure that they experience the journey really well, and everything is clear and concise.
Thanks, Udell. Okay.
No problem at all. I'm sure we'll be getting more into that. Obviously, anyone that wants to know or has any further questions on the 30/70 model, please do get back to your advisor, and I'm sure at some point you'll be probably back in front of myself doing another meeting so we can talk through the details, or Chris to give you the nitty-gritty. This is a typical, just a kind of an example of a financial statement. So we like to provide these financial statements to kind of take clients through the working journey of what the investment looks like. So you have things like your reservation stage, then your monthly deposit payments. Then we come into completion, where you have things like mortgage fees, you'll have stamp duties. These additional bits and pieces, sometimes people forget, and we don't want you to forget. So we make sure that we highlight them from the start. Then we look at the expenses side, rental incomes, and all the other bits and pieces. Okay, so that's the 30/70 model. That's how we help people build a deposit towards their purchase. Very easy, very straightforward. Golden USPs, and it's very unique to Prosperity. But when we apply those USPs to high growth areas that are producing great numbers in regards to demand, it ticks all the boxes. So we're going to show you today, what's happening in and around Nottingham, and why we think this is a great investment. So this is our new project, the Neighbourhood. The Neighbourhood is a complete new build site. It's a mixture of properties, apartments and townhouses. And this is going to be a new private gated community. So there's one entrance on, one entrance off. So we're very proud to obviously produce a product like this. So it's quite exciting for us. It's located in an area called Beeston in Nottingham. So Beeston is the closest area town to the universities in the city centre. And it's literally, I think it's about 2.5 to 3 miles out from the city centre. But the beauty of it is when you come out of this community here, sorry, Chris, you're literally right next to the tram infrastructure. So there's a tram line that runs straight outside that takes you into Nottingham town centre within 12 to 15 minutes. You were saying something, Chris, sorry.
Questions just come in, just going back to your previous slide. Don't go back to the previous slide, but just going back to it. What happens if a client starts a savings plan model, then halfway through can no longer continue? What happens in those situations?
Oh, of course, there's always going to be, we never rule that out to anybody because we know that circumstances can change, of course. Prosperity, we're a people's business. So if you come to us and said, we've lost the contract, we're struggling to make any further payments, we're more than happy to put things on hold for you. We can provide payment holidays to kind of see if that situation sorts itself out. If it doesn't, we're not here as a charity to refund, and I'm not going to say this bad, but we're not here as a charity to refund clients and give them all their money back, because that's not what we do. Our ultimate goal is to help you attain and get a buy-to-let investment property. So if we needed to pause your payments, take you at that investment for the meantime, that's perfectly fine. We can maybe look at it again in 6 months' time, retain your deposits on file, and then apply you to a new project when you are ready to go again. So it's very much a case-by-case basis that we look at for the clients to make sure that we get them to where they need to be. 5% reservation deposits of the deposit is always a non-refundable deposit. Yeah, because that's the deposit that you use to secure the property, take it off the marketing, and move the process forward.
Thanks, Udell. That answer. Okay. Anybody else got any other questions on that? Please do. But please ask the questions at the bottom. Sorry, I did cut you in mid-flow.
That's all right. That's all right. No problem at all. But anytime anyone's got any queries like that, they're more than welcome to come to us direct, and we'll do our best to obviously help them out and make sure that we get them to where they need to be. So just going back to our site. So this site, as I was saying, is a private gated community. It boasts the location of being surrounded by good infrastructure. So that's a very important key when we're looking for capital appreciation, rental growth, is infrastructure. And the infrastructure that surrounds this site and this area is absolutely phenomenal. It's expected to complete in Q4 2024. And we're offering an 18-month payment plan. And our mission is just to deliver good, solid property in high growth regeneration areas. We know that at the moment, I think they were saying Nottingham is around about 8,000 to 10,000 people moving into Nottingham per annum. That's huge growth for a smaller city like Nottingham. So the demand for this type of property is at its highest, guys. Yeah, it's at its highest.
Can I just add in, please, Udell, that the thing I'd say to you is that the way that rents are structured at the moment and the compression caused by lack of stock is indicating that the likes of Savills are suggesting that this year we're going to see somewhere in the region of 8 to 9% increase in rental values, and they're going to be exactly the same again next year. So let's just dumb that down slightly, and let's say in the next 2 years, you're likely to see a 15% increase in the rents you're going to get. This is totally realistic because
Yeah,
it's driven by demand. So
exactly.
sometimes we go into capital growth, and just to give you an idea, Nottingham last year was approximately across the board was 16% increase. Now we're not going to see that again this year, and I'm not going to tell you that we are. It would be wrong of me to do so. But in actual fact, if you get a 15% increase in 2 years on rents, you've sort of got the same thing.
Yeah.
So, you know, it swings, but this is why this site is so good. I just got a couple of little tiny things I'm going to add.
Yeah, of course.
Interesting. The name Beeston. I'm always interested in where places get their names from. Beeston means the hive of industry. It's because that's where an awful lot of bees were, beehives were kept over the generations. Just think that's quite an interesting little fact. So it's Beeston because it's bee town, and it's a hive of industry. So that's where the name comes from. Secondly, you've got to look at the employers that support people going into these houses. So what you've got is Boots, Imperial Tobacco, and something that us older guys will know, Myford lathes. The old-fashioned Myford lathes were, again, all manufactured in Beeston. So, and they fed all of the machinery to Birmingham, which was a massive hub of industry. That was all. It's not important, but it is, because
of course it's important.
History.
Yeah,
this is why I call this a show, because it's history, it's geography. It is amazing. Thank you, Pete, for that.
Definitely.
Udell,
definitely.
come on.
Thank you.
Just by picking up on that, 18 months. It's an 18-month savings, isn't it? 18 months. Just going back to. Is that you?
Yeah, that's me.
You do some work as well.
That's me on site. So me and Pete, we went to visit the site last month, go and tread the ground and see what's happening. So yeah, had my hard hat on, go and see what the guys are up to, and we're actually in construction already. So we're ahead of schedule, which is amazing, because we usually start selling the products and then we start construction, but we're actually on site already before we've even started. So that's the reason why we're at 18 months. But it's good to kind of get out, understand the site, see the orientations, etc., know where the different plots and different things are going to be built on the area. So this is how we set up. So apartments, we've got the site plan down here, which is the main building. You've got your private entrance driveway onto the estate. This is the apartments. The apartment price is going to be starting from 169,995, and this is how we sat right in the middle of the estate. And then the townhouses come with your gardens and your parking spaces. All apartments have parking. If you require parking, the parking is an additional cost, but parking is available. The townhouses do come with parking included in the price as well, just to kind of show you the vision. So we've got block A over here, townhouses, and block B, which has a courtyard. So really interesting to see how the site is set up. Obviously, once we get the brochure and a few things out to our participants who've joined us today, they can see and understand a little bit more on the site. The visual and internal specification of the product. So Prosperity's products always speaks volumes. So we always have your typical hardware and flooring, your fully fitted and integrated kitchens and bathrooms. So we have all the white goods, dish, washer, dryer, fridge, freezer, hob extractor, etc. All your lightings. Unfortunately, loose furniture is not included, but we can give you the availability to loose furnishings through the lettings rental management company further down the line, when we understand and know about the tenancy demand of what they require upon rentals. So that's just to give you a bit of an insight, and just going back to what Pete was mentioning about the location and the big employers in the city of Beeston. And there's something quite interesting actually that I kind of found out over the last couple of days. I found that Boots, the big pharmaceutical healthcare business, their headquarters is actually based in Beeston, and I didn't know that. It's number 9 down here. And I also looked into the guy that invented and started Boots was the inventor of ibuprofen back in 1961. How crazy is that, in Beeston? So whenever you're having an ibuprofen, know that it came from Beeston in Nottingham, from the Boots manufacturing plant. But just to kind of take you into the orientation of the site anyway, this is the neighbourhood over here. We got number 22, which is the tram stop. So this is the high road tram infrastructure. We know that Nottingham has this state-of-the-art tram infrastructure line that runs into its city centre and supports the whole of the area. So that's really convenient for commuters that are wanting to get around the city, etc. Beeston also has its own train station, number 8, which is less than, I think it's something like 0.7 miles away. So we're probably looking around about a 15-minute walk from the development, to give you a good idea. 5 and 6 is the university campuses. So Nottingham Trent University and University of Nottingham, this is where they're based. This is a 15-minute tram journey from the neighbourhood over to the university campuses.
Can I just say as well, Udell, that the high street's got a really great feel about it. I was quite shocked. When you go down there, you sort of think, you know, it was active, it was busy, there were people walking around, there were cafes, you know, you've got a Waitrose, you've got Churchill just doing a development, which always says a lot, because Churchill are high-end price. They don't go anywhere that's lower-end price. It's got a really great feel, hasn't it?
Definitely. So when you've got something like 60 to 70 you know, student population, and then you obviously have a churn around of students that then go and graduate, and then they secure jobs in the city. This is an ongoing thing for young working professionals and young people being in a thriving area. So that's what Beeston's got to offer, and that's why we found that it's just a great place to go to, and obviously you know, start a site like this within a 2-mile.
Wayne just asked a question which comes up quite often: rented or not rented, and what's the premium? And I always answer it by saying 3 months before completion, then study it, look at it, and see where the demand is. Because if it's somebody who's trading down, let's just say, for example, then they're going to have their own furniture with them. But if it's somebody like somebody's going to be working in the area and going to go out for Boots, they just travelled up to work in their head office, they may not have any furniture at all. So in answer to your question, Wayne, at the time is the right time to make that decision. Of
course. So what we will do, like Chris said, 3 months, 4 months before completion, we start the marketing process, and we understand the tenancy demand for what we're working with. So we'll have registered applicants for furnished, registered applicants for unfurnished. We'll come back to the landlords and say, right, we've got tenants, we've got 12 tenants that are registered. You know, if you furnish your property, we can get you a tenant in. Let's move forward. But we always will kind of gauge it from when we start the marketing process to see where we're up to, and that's a kind of interesting process to do, because we don't want you to start buying furniture packs at the start, because there's no point in doing that at the very initial. Tagging on to what Pete was mentioning earlier in regards to the growth and the economy and how Nottingham has performed, and I was quite taken back, because I've always known that the East Midlands region has been one of the strongest capital appreciating regions of the UK. But to see these figures actually on paper, it was quite strong. So this is one that I pulled out. Since 2016, when we had the Brexit referendum vote, 41% property price increase. So Nottingham property prices have increased from 122 grand to 172 grand, which is a 41% increase. What's that? 6 years and 3 months? 6 years and 3 months of 41% growth in that period, which is massive. And going back to what Pete mentioned earlier, 16% growth since 2020. This is crazy. There's, you know, we're getting in with a payment plan. We can see that the pounds per square foot value is still growing. So even when it's in construction, the value of the pounds per square foot is still rising. We're paying a minimal commitment, we're following a payment plan, and we're getting X amount returns on the value of the property. So if we look at a 5-year window and how much money we could refinance through that product to then go on and move into another prosperity product, you know, That's how we build wealth for our clients, strictly using that model.
Can I just say, you, Del, as well, that I've got a favourite saying, and within property, there's only a couple of really golden rules. And one is there's only one thing you've got to do to make money in property, and that's be in it. And the second thing is time is your friend. This is not a get rich quick scheme, but what you'll find is if you take any capture of 10 years, any time. So even if you go back to 2007, before we had the Lehman's disaster, 2007, 2008, go on 10 years, it always goes up by 50%. Nothing has changed over the last 50 years, and it's not going to change again over the next 50 years.
Yeah.
Don't listen to the soothsayers that say property is going to fall 30%. It's rubbish. There are no drivers for that to happen. They're only building land once. There is no more.
Exactly.
And so the fundamentals are completely behind us, which is why overseas investors still see the whole of the UK as being a good place to invest. And what Prosperity have done is they're focusing on the areas where there's probably even a better uptick and a better upside than some of the slightly weaker areas by doing their research properly. So all I'll say is that we're dealing with a fantastic company that know their onions, as I call it.
Definitely. We make sure
I'm just going to ask a question that's just coming from Ben. Now, Ben is a first-time viewer. Because we've changed it from Thursday to Friday this week, it enabled him to watch. So thank you, Ben. And Ben's asked a question. Would the rent cover the interest payment? And I'm thinking interest only. And I'm going to assume we're talking about 65%. And I'm going to assume an interest rate, wrongly or rightly, but I'm going to say 5% for a non-resident, for an expat. And I've just worked out the figures on the lowest price property with the figures you gave earlier on. Then it would be cash flow positive. Would you agree, Del?
Yeah, of course. We always stress test our buy-to-let investment sites, the figures and the prices, etc. We obviously know that the rates are a bit around the place at the moment. We're not looking at the rates right now because this is an 18-month payment plan away from completion. So we know that rates have been falling. We know that the mortgage market will be a very different situation by the time we come to the financing table. But typically, yes, these products set up on an investment interest-only mortgages, we can always provide a fact find and give you a level of comfort. But we know that a lot of the lenders will look at the products and they'll run the figures to understand what the rental market's doing, what the price is doing. And if it stacks up as an investment property, you will obviously secure lending with a great rate. We're not in the market to produce products that don't stack up on financing, because that's where Prosperity gets paid, is when everybody completes with a mortgage at the end. So we need to make sure that that process is smooth as possible, the product's priced right, we're in the locations where we know there's going to be capital appreciation, high growth on rentals, and also be a great demand for the products. So yes.
Thanks, Udell. We've got another slide, Udell?
Yes, of course. So
moving you along. Yeah, I told you I would.
So a couple of points again that I pulled out that I thought would be really interesting is Nottingham's kind of tram expansion. We know that Nottingham has this award-winning tram network connecting Beeston and the surrounding areas so it's great for commuters getting around the city, and that's one of the key drivers, guys, for good capital appreciation is infrastructure. If you're surrounded by good infrastructure, motorway links, train links, tram lines, etc., you're onto a winner, because Nottingham, great place, has all the kind of commuter direct lines to London, Birmingham, Leeds, etc. So a great place to be. So that's just moving into the point 5 down here, saying that Beeston's location in regards to having its own train station as well just sets it up really well as being a connected place. Found that this was quite interesting as well, the rental potential. We've got the Queen's Medical Centre, the QMC, which is a regional super hospital, which is very close to that Boots on that map that I mentioned earlier, and they employ 6,000 people. So that's created another massive demand for the property market and the buy-to-let investment market. Only a 20-minute tram journey from Beeston, which is amazing. So not only are we putting up with 60 to 70,000 students studying in and around Nottingham, and they go on to become graduates in the city, and the market's thriving. We've got other big employers and you know, companies and places in and around this area, that puts a lot of pressure on the residential sector.
Got one last little known fact about Beeston, by the way. It's got the UK British Canoe Training Centre.
Oh,
Which
is that
is-
by, that
I
must
wonder
be
where that
by
was.
the
Yeah, but you know
the
that
Nottingham
massive
Forest
building
ground,
that
I
we came
think.
past you, Dal. You know that really beautiful ecclesiastic building, effectively up on the hill.
Yeah,
Beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful architecture. Then those fields directly opposite, it's got the and that's where all of our canoe trainers for the Olympics go.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's
There you
crazy. Lovely.
I think we're going to lose viewers soon. Carry on then, Udell. What's the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
slide?
So that's Beeston, that's Nottingham in its whole. And what we wanted to do is, you know, we'll be obviously connecting with a lot more people to go more in depth. So this is just a taster session for you today to introduce the products, Beeston, Nottingham itself. Talk about the payment plan. We do have a full set of materials that your advisor that invited you to this meeting today that we'll be able to furnish you with, and then we can sit down and have an individual meeting on your circumstances, your goals, and how we can make that all happen. So bit of a taster session today. Holborn have 15 exclusive units pre-launch before anybody else out there. So we're excited to get this to table. And get people in, first come, first serve, to obviously have a look at the development and see how we set up and see how we can help them build wealth through property.
And as I said right at the early on, it's already on our website, Holborn propertyinvestments.com. It's already on there, so you can have a look at that. And you'd be pleased to know that we'll be adding this webinar to that link, so you can actually watch it again and fast forward over past Udell. So thank you very much. I'm just going to say one other thing whilst we've got people on. Thanks for the questions. I think Udell's answered them and Pete's answered them as we've gone along. But as well as what we've discussed today, please have a look at that website, because we've got York, we've got Manchester, we've got Birmingham, we've got London, we've got Brighton and other cities as well. So please have a look. And if you want, then go back to your wealth manager and come and talk to us. But that was great. Thank you, Udell. I mean, I've always finished by saying you've got a load of stuff in the pipeline. So if this doesn't suit, Udell's got other stuff which has got the regular savings plan aspect to it. Definitely. It may be 6 months off plan or wherever it may be in the stage, but Udell will give a rundown of it, and also a cash flow forecast, which is so important. But you've got some great products, Udell.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yeah, much appreciated. So yeah, looking forward to the feedback. Of course, if anyone's obviously interested, we'd love to get in front of you and talk to you more about the products and see how we can get you a great investment that's going to yield and bring you back a return while you're actually doing nothing, while you're saving a deposit for your mortgage. So let's see what we can do and make it happen.
Well, just another question's just come in. Final one from Ben, first time watcher. And he's asked about the other developments. Yes, they're on our website, but if there are others that want to know, then obviously contact me, Ben, or contact Udell direct. But yeah, there's a few. I think at the moment on the website we've got 34 different projects on there at the moment. And I know, Pete, we've got Windsor coming up, everybody. Fantastic development. 2 developments in Windsor. We've got lots of London stuff. Pete's been around the country. I think you're looking at Bristol. You're looking at everywhere.
Yeah, we got some a lovely range of stock coming on. But what I would suggest to you is focus on the neighbourhood. There's only 15 exclusive units. And if we do really well with those, guess what? I might be able to bend this man's arm to get a bit more exclusivity. We do no different than with a couple of the other schemes, which I've sort of really pushed. I don't want you to think when I'm saying this is going to go quickly, it's just to get you guys to sell. We've lost other schemes that have been sold out. And we can't afford that to happen. You know, try and look at this. It's a great site. It's a great price point. It's a great investment story for your investors. And there's no risk. There's no risk.
Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Udell. Thanks, everybody. Remember, we've got a mortgage service as well. So if anybody's in doubt, you can contact us and we can actually give you your pre-approval. Which is always very, very important. The last thing I want to say, the first property I ever bought was in Newark, which is right next to Nottingham, isn't it? Newark?
Yeah, we've done a site there as well.
It was £13,250.
Wow.
I put 3,000 down, and I got a £10,000 mortgage, and the rate was at 15%. So there we go. That puts it in perspective how old I am. So thank you, everybody. They're all on recorded, and reach out if you need anything. See you again next week.
Everybody.
No
Thank
problem at all.
you.
Thanks for your time, gents. All the
Thanks,
best.
Vincent. Cheers.
Thank you.